So now that we've looked at how you would find different objects in your collection and how you would filter them, let's look at what an individual collection object looks like. So let's go and click on Show next to one of these here. This one, which happens to have, you can see here the link to the associated media on this specimen. So let's look at this one. All right. So this is the Browse Collection Object task in TaxonWorks. You can see here two different views, and I'll scroll down to the second view in a second, but the first is a timeline view. First, it just gives you the basic stuff about the specimen. What's its identifier? What's it identified by and who? That'll give you kind of like a header for every specimen. And what I can see here is a timeline view of everything about this specimen. So it was initially collected in 1939, and that is derived from the collecting event data class in TaxonWorks. You can see that collecting event assigned here. And you could then go to this collecting event and look at all these different things that have been assigned to it as well. Then in 1940, it was determined by Traub as the species. And then in 2020, someone created a digital record and also gave it an identifier and tagged it with a couple different things, as well as imaged or added an image of the specimen, which you can see here, right here. Gave it a couple biocuration classifications. This was done a little bit later, a couple months later. And then it was given a biological association also 2 months later. It was localized to Blarina brevicaudata, which I think is a shrew. Yeah, it's a short-tailed shrew. So now we've got biological associations on this specimen. You can see these different revisions, who actually updated the digital record, and you can assign that assigned to a user. It was then georeferenced on this day, and then it was also given a global unique identifier just a couple days ago. And you can see that depiction shown right here of this slide specimen. Notably, we also have buffered fields. And buffered fields are a concept that is somewhat unique to TaxonWorks that loosely corresponds with the proposed verbatim label field that's being proposed in Darwin Core, that allows you to put all of the labels that are associated with any collection object onto into your database. So without too much splitting, in TaxonWorks, we decided to split these into three main categories: one that's associated with the collecting event, one that's associated with determinations, and then anything else that's not associated with either of those two or is unknown. So the buffered collecting event field is just for all of the information that's associated with the collecting event. The buffered determination field is everything that has to do with this specimen being identified. And then other labels is for everything we're not sure about, whether that's unknown numbers or other notes that don't fit into any of these categories. But all these together would get exported as a verbatim label field once that actually comes out and is approved in Darwin corpus. Speaking of Darwin Core, here's the second view of everything associated with the specimen. This is how this specimen will look when it gets exported. And these are all the currently supported Darwin Core associated fields that would get exported in the Darwin Core export field. So you can see we've got typical Darwin Core formatted fields here: catalog number, individual count, preparations, life stage, sex, country, etc. You can see all these listed out here. So this way you can value check exactly what's going to actually get exported when this thing goes out to things like GBIF and IDIC Bio. And that is basically those two tasks to start with. And we'll get into how to edit those in our next video.